I thought Jessica and I had a perfect relationship. For 3 years, we built what I believed was our future together. Then came that night when she sat me down and said those words I never expected to hear. I need some space. Johnathan, do not contact me for a while. I respected her wishes, truly believing she just needed time to think. Then I saw them the very next day on Instagram. Vacation photos. With her ex. In a luxury resort I could never afford. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. And hit that like button if you have ever been betrayed. Let us dive into this unbelievable story together. I met Jessica at a company party through mutual friends 3 years ago. She walked in wearing a blue dress that made her stand out in the crowded room. Her laugh was the first thing that caught my attention, genuine and infectious. When our eyes met across the room, something just clicked. I worked up the courage to introduce myself, and we spent the entire evening talking as if we had known each other for years. Our first date was at this upscale Italian restaurant downtown. I still remember how nervous I felt waiting for her to arrive. She showed up 10 minutes late, apologizing profusely about traffic. We ordered wine and talked for hours about our dreams, families, and favorite travel destinations. By dessert, I knew there was something special between us. The moment that made me believe in destiny was when we discovered we had both visited the same obscure bookstore in Seattle on the same day 2 years earlier, possibly passing each other without knowing. Those first 6 months together were magical. We shared a love for hiking true crime documentaries and trying out new restaurants. Our values aligned perfectly, too. We both wanted to build successful careers before starting a family, loved traveling, and believed in making time for personal growth. The memories we created were priceless. Weekend road trips to the coast, surprising each other with thoughtful gifts, and staying up until dawn just talking about life. Everything about Jessica felt right. She was ambitious but kind, independent, yet affectionate. I admired how she volunteered at the animal shelter every month, and how dedicated she was to her career in marketing. The way she remembered little details about people and made everyone feel special. The way she could make me laugh, even on my worst days. I thought she was the one. After a year of dating, moving in together seemed like the natural next step. We spent weekends browsing apartment listings, debating neighborhoods, and envisioning our life together. Eventually, we found a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice area of the city. It had hardwood floors, large windows with a city view, and a spacious kitchen, perfect for our Sunday cooking sessions. I offered to pay 60% of the rent since I earned more than Jessica did at the time. She was grateful and promised to contribute in other ways, like handling more of the grocery shopping and cooking. The day we moved in was exhausting, but exhilarating. Unpacking boxes until midnight, ordering takeout, and finally collapsing on our new couch, surrounded by half-empty boxes but feeling completely at home. As our relationship progressed, I found myself taking on more financial responsibilities. Jessica mentioned her car was constantly breaking down, making her commute stressful. For her birthday, I decided to buy her a new Toyota. Since her credit score was not great, I put it in my name with the plan to transfer it to her later. I covered most of our utility bills, paid for our vacations to Miami and San Diego, and surprised her with expensive gifts like designer bags and jewelry. Looking back, there were warning signs I chose to ignore. Jessica often reminisced about her ex-boyfriend Derek. She would casually mention how funny he was, or how he introduced her to her favorite band. Initially, I thought nothing of it. I was secure in our relationship, and believed people could remain friends with their exes. There were also inexplicable periods when Jessica became distant. She would be less affectionate, spend more time on her phone, and seem distracted during our conversations. When I asked if everything was okay, she would snap back to normal and blame work stress or lack of sleep. Then there were the secretive text messages and hushed phone calls. Several times I walked into the room to find her quickly, putting her phone down or switching apps. Once I caught a glimpse of a message from Derek, but when I asked about it, Jessica became defensive. She accused me of spying and not trusting her. I backed off, not wanting to seem controlling or jealous. Now I realize that was a mistake. It was a Thursday evening when everything changed. We had just finished dinner, nothing special, just pasta I had cooked after work. Jessica was unusually quiet throughout the meal, picking at her food and checking her phone repeatedly. After we cleared the dishes, she asked if we could talk. We sat on the couch, and she took a deep breath before speaking. "Johnathan, I need some space," she said, avoiding eye contact. "I have been feeling suffocated lately. I just need time to think about where we are going." Her explanation was vague at best. When I asked for specifics, she mentioned feeling like she had lost her identity in our relationship and needed to reconnect with herself. The request that followed hit me hard. "I need you not to contact me for at least 2 weeks," she said firmly. "No calls, no texts. I promise we will talk after I get some clarity." I sat there stunned and confused. Part of me wanted to argue to ask why she suddenly needed space after 3 years of what I thought was happiness. But another part respected her need for reflection. If space was what she needed to realize how much our relationship meant, I would give her that. So I agreed. That night, she packed a small bag, claiming she would stay with her friend Amanda. I hugged her goodbye, telling her I would be here when she returned. As the door closed behind her, our apartment felt emptier than ever before. The first few days without Jessica were difficult. I kept reaching for my phone to text her about something funny I saw, or to ask about her day only to remember our agreement. The silence from her end was deafening. I threw myself into work, stayed late at the office, and spent evenings with friends to avoid coming home to the empty apartment. I missed her laugh, her presence, even the little annoying habits like leaving wet towels on the bathroom floor. I worried about what her need for space meant for us, but remained hopeful that this break would ultimately strengthen our relationship. 5 days into our break, I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram when a photo stopped me cold. Our mutual friend Taylor had posted a series of beach photos from a weekend getaway. In the background of one image, I could clearly see Jessica lounging by a pool, and she was not alone. Derek, her ex-boyfriend, had his arm around her waist, both of them smiling brightly at the camera. The caption read, "Bumped into these 2 lovebirds at the Grand Palmetto Resort." The timestamp showed it was posted just 2 days after Jessica had asked for space. My hands shook as I stared at the image. This was not Amanda she was staying with. This was not finding herself. This was a planned vacation with her ex. Unable to believe what I was seeing, I dove deeper. I visited Jessica's social media profiles, and while she had not posted anything herself, she was tagged in several photos by others at the resort. There she was in a sunset dinner photo, clinking champagne glasses with Derek. Another showed them walking hand in hand on the beach. The final blow was a check-in post from Derek at the 5-star resort with the caption, "Nothing like reconnecting with your soulmate." Friends started messaging me. Matt texted asking if Jessica and I had broken up. Sophia called to see if I was okay after seeing the photos. Apparently everyone knew except me. The humiliation burned as much as the betrayal. Desperate for answers, I opened our shared laptop. Jessica had left it behind, and while I had never snooped before, I needed to understand what was happening. I found months of messages between her and Derek. They had been in contact the entire time we were together, their conversations growing increasingly intimate in recent weeks. Plans for their getaway were laid out in detail. The worst part, Jessica had referred to our relationship as temporary, something she was using to make Derek jealous enough to commit. The discovery left me reeling. I sat in our living room surrounded by photos of our seemingly happy life together, feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. The shock gave way to a profound sense of betrayal. I had given Jessica everything financially and emotionally, only to discover I was merely a pawn in her game to win back her ex. The pain morphed into anger as I realized how calculated her actions had been. The request for space was never about our relationship. It was a cover for her tropical rendezvous with Derek. I felt used financially, too. The car I bought her, the rent I paid, the lavish gifts, all now seemed like things she had manipulated me into providing. Most of all, I feared looking like a fool. Everyone had seen those photos. Everyone knew I had been deceived while remaining blissfully unaware. The thought of facing friends and coworkers, seeing the pity in their eyes, made my stomach churn. I needed guidance. My best friend Michael came over that night after I called him in a state of despair. He brought beer and listened as I poured out the whole story. Michael had never fully warmed to Jessica, something I had attributed to protectiveness, but now recognized as intuition. "Johnathan, you deserve better than this," he said bluntly. "This is not just a mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was calculated deception." His words stung but rang true. The next day I called my sister Amanda, who had always given me straightforward advice. After hearing the situation, she did not hold back. "Respect yourself enough to walk away completely," she advised. She talked about the importance of boundaries and self-respect, reminding me that how I responded now would set the tone for all my future relationships. Given the financial entanglements, I consulted with a lawyer friend, Brian. I needed to understand my legal rights regarding the car and our living situation. Brian confirmed what I suspected. Since the car was in my name, I had every right to sell it. And as the sole name on the apartment lease, I could legally change the locks. With a clearer understanding of my options, I began formulating a plan. First, I double-checked all the car documentation. The Toyota was indeed solely in my name. Jessica had not contributed a single dollar toward its purchase or maintenance. Legally and morally, it was mine to do with as I pleased. Next, I reviewed our rental agreement. Only my signature appeared on the lease. Jessica had never been added as an official tenant despite living there for nearly 2 years. This meant I had full control over access to the apartment. It did not feel good to realize I would be using these technicalities, but Jessica had broken my trust in the most fundamental way. Armed with this knowledge, I took action. I contacted a professional locksmith, explaining my situation without unnecessary details. The locksmith arrived the next morning and efficiently changed all the locks on the apartment. I made sure to notify my landlord about the change, citing security concerns. He was understanding and requested a copy of the new keys for emergency access, which I provided immediately. Watching the locksmith install the new deadbolt gave me a strange sense of taking back control. Something about the mechanical click of the new lock testing felt like the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. The car situation required more effort. I spent a weekend detailing the Toyota, removing all of Jessica's personal items and taking photos for listings. I posted the car on multiple selling platforms, pricing it fairly for a quick sale. Within days, I had several interested buyers. A young couple expecting their first child made a reasonable offer. Meeting them, seeing their excitement about starting their family journey with this reliable vehicle, brought an unexpected sense of closure. The husband shook my hand firmly after signing the paperwork, and I handed over the keys, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. With the sale complete, I used some of the money to pay off the remaining car loan, and deposited the rest in my savings account. There was something liberating about severing this financial tie to Jessica. In the week that followed, I prepared the apartment for the inevitable confrontation. I carefully gathered all of Jessica's belongings, placing them in neatly labeled boxes in the spare room. Clothes, toiletries, books, and mementos, all packed away with care despite my anger. I wanted to be better than my hurt feelings, to handle this with dignity. I rearranged the living room, moving the furniture to create a new layout that felt distinctly mine. I replaced our bedding with a new set in a color I had always preferred. Small changes that helped reclaim the space as my own. For the first time since discovering her betrayal, I felt a sense of peace in the apartment. It was no longer our space tainted by deception. It was mine, a place to heal and move forward. 2 weeks after she left, almost to the hour, my phone lit up with a message from Jessica. "Heading home tomorrow morning. Cannot wait to see you and talk things through. Miss you." The casual tone, as if she had simply been on a business trip rather than a romantic getaway with her ex, made my blood boil. Not a word about Derek, the resort, or the photos everyone had seen. Just the expectation that she would slide back into our life without consequences. I did not respond. Part of me wanted to warn her about what awaited, but a stronger part knew she deserved to experience the results of her actions without preparation. I spent that evening remarkably calm, mentally rehearsing what I would say when we finally faced each other. The next afternoon I heard the sound I had been waiting for. Keys jingling at the door, followed by frustrated attempts to unlock it. Then came the knocking, gentle at first. Then, more insistent. Finally, my phone rang with Jessica's name flashing on the screen. "Johnathan, my key is not working. Can you come let me in?" Her voice held no hint of guilt or shame, just mild annoyance at the inconvenience. I took a deep breath and headed to the door. Opening it, revealed Jessica tanned from her beach vacation rolling suitcase beside her. The smile she offered withered as she took in my expression. I did not invite her in immediately, instead, standing firmly in the doorway. "What is going on? Why did you change the locks?" she demanded, trying to step around me into the apartment. I blocked her path gently but decisively. "I saw the photos, Jessica. You and Derek at the Grand Palmetto Resort." My voice was steadier than I expected. Everyone saw them. Her face cycled through expressions rapidly. Shock, embarrassment, and then defensive anger. "That was not what it looked like," she stammered. "Derek happened to be there on business. We just caught up as friends." I laughed, the sound hollow even to my own ears. "Is that why you were kissing in the sunset photo? Why he called you his soulmate? Why you told him in messages that our relationship was just temporary?" Her eyes widened at the mention of the messages. "You went through my private conversations. That is invasion of privacy." She deflected, attempting to make me the villain. I remained calm. "The laptop is mine, Jessica. You left it logged into your accounts. But that is beside the point. You lied to me. You said you needed space, but what you really needed was a luxury vacation with your ex-boyfriend." She switched tactics, tears springing to her eyes. "I was confused, Johnathan. I needed to be sure about us. Derek means nothing to me. It was a mistake. I realized I want to be with you." I shook my head. "Your car is gone, by the way." "What?" The abrupt change of subject caught her off guard. "What do you mean gone? I sold it." I stated simply. "It was in my name, and I sold it." The tears vanished, instantly replaced by fury. "You sold my car. How dare you? I needed that car. Where am I supposed to go now?" "Maybe Derek can buy you one," I suggested, stepping back to begin closing the door. "Or you can use some of the money you saved by having me pay for everything while you planned your getaway with him." Her face contorted with rage. "You cannot do this. I will sue you. That was my car. I lived here. You cannot just throw me out." Jessica's voice rose to a shout likely audible to neighbors. "The car was in my name," I reminded her. "And you are not on the lease. I have confirmed both with legal counsel. Your things are packed in boxes in the spare room. You can arrange to pick them up, but you no longer live here." As the reality of her situation sank and Jessica's strategy shifted once more, her shoulders slumped and genuine tears replaced the performative ones. "Please, Johnathan," she pleaded, voice breaking. "I made a terrible mistake. These past 2 weeks made me realize how much I love you. Derek was just closure. Please give me another chance. We can work through this." For a brief moment, seeing her cry tugged at my heart. 3 years of love does not disappear instantly. But then I remembered the photos, the messages, the calculated way she had used me. I remembered my sister's words about self-respect. "I am sorry, Jessica. Trust once broken cannot be repaired. Not like this. I will text you when you can come get your things." With that, I gently closed the door, turned the new lock, and walked away from the sound of her sobbing on the other side. The fallout from that confrontation lasted weeks. Jessica eventually collected her belongings, escorted by her friend Amanda, who shot me dirty looks the entire time. I remained polite but distant during the process. Once they left with the last box, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. 3 years of my life packaged away in cardboard containers. The social aftermath was messy. Jessica told a very different version of events to our mutual friends. In her story, I was controlling and jealous, overreacting to an innocent reunion with an old friend. Some people believed her. I lost friends who took her side, people I had thought would know me better. But I refused to engage in the mudslinging. When asked, I simply stated the facts. Jessica had lied about needing space, gone on vacation with her ex, and I had chosen to end the relationship. Those who mattered saw through her narrative. especially when Derek and Jessica's relationship became Instagram official just 3 weeks later. The initial pain was intense. I experienced all the classic symptoms of heartbreak: sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, loss of appetite, random moments of grief hitting me in the middle of mundane tasks. I would catch myself reaching for my phone to text her before remembering we were done. I leaned heavily on the support system that remained. Michael checked on me daily sometimes, just sitting in silence with me watching basketball when I was not in the mood to talk. My sister called every evening for the first month, listening patiently as I cycled through anger, sadness, and occasional moments of weakness where I questioned my decision. 6 weeks after the breakup, I joined a support group for people who had experienced betrayal in relationships. Sitting in a circle with strangers who understood exactly what I was going through proved surprisingly therapeutic. They got the complicated emotions, the self-doubt, the trust issues that were beginning to form. Through their stories, I saw different versions of my own pain and, more importantly, saw people who had healed from it. Individual therapy also became a crucial part of my recovery. My therapist, Dr. Karen, helped me untangle the web of emotions and see patterns I had missed. She pointed out how I had ignored red flags, how my desire to be the provider had possibly attracted someone looking to take advantage, and how I needed to establish healthier boundaries going forward. Gradually, I began rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion that had been on the horizon for months. The additional responsibilities and challenges provided a welcome distraction and restored some of the confidence Jessica's betrayal had eroded. I rediscovered old interests that had fallen by the wayside during my relationship. I joined a local hiking group, rekindling my love for outdoor adventures, without the constant need to check if my companion was enjoying herself. I took cooking classes, learning to make elaborate meals just for my own enjoyment, rather than to impress someone else. New friendships blossomed, particularly with people who knew me only as I was now, not as half of Johnathan and Jessica. These relationships felt refreshingly uncomplicated, built on genuine connection, rather than shared history or obligation. 3 months after changing the locks, I decided it was time for a fresh start in a new place. I found a modern apartment in a different neighborhood somewhere, with no memories attached. The process of decorating this space exactly as I wanted was unexpectedly healing. Every furniture choice, every wall color, every small detail reflected only my preferences. The finished space felt like a physical manifestation of my recovery, open and bright with possibilities. This journey forced me to establish clearer boundaries in all my relationships. I became more attuned to red flags, not in a paranoid way, but with healthy awareness. I learned to recognize manipulative behavior early, to listen to my intuition when something felt off, and to voice concerns rather than suppressing them out of fear of seeming jealous or controlling. Dating again was intimidating. The first few attempts were awkward, my guard perpetually up. But with time and positive experiences, I remembered that not everyone is deceptive. I learned to share vulnerability again, though more wisely, and with people who had earned my trust through consistent honesty and respect. Looking back now, I realize that what Jessica did was never about my inadequacies. Her choices reflected her character, not my worth. The experience painful, as it was taught me invaluable lessons about self-respect, boundaries, and the kind of love I deserve. The most important thing I learned was that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. Changing those locks and selling that car were not acts of revenge, though they may have seemed that way. They were acts of self-preservation, of reclaiming my power and dignity. Today, I can honestly say, I am grateful for the experience. Not because it was pleasant, or because I wish it on anyone else, but because I emerged stronger, wiser, and more authentically myself. The pain shaped me, but does not define me. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect yourself from someone who betrayed your trust? Share your story in the comments below. Sometimes, knowing we are not alone in these experiences can be the most powerful healing medicine. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges. Thank you for listening, and remember, your self-respect is not negotiable. No relationship is worth sacrificing that for.